Zone. Or maybe he gave up. Who knows? All right. So this past week, I gave you freedom to explore, I think it was, and was curious if anybody explored and wanted to share what they did.
Ryan,
I
you're
have.
muted.
I'm sorry.
Mute. Now you're muted twice.
You're double muted now. It's still
The
muted.
camera that you're unmuting does not seem to be working.
Yeah, sorry. Well, I was messing around with the tutorials and had a lot of fun with the saturation one, where you could like do the brightness and saturation and stuff. I got it to like the circle, was just like a blurred kind of sphere of magical colors, and it was the best thing. So I was having fun tweaking that.
Sounds like Jordan Belson.
It was cool because it's supposed to be like this. It like turned into a gradient rather than having the solid color stuff. So
yeah, it is a good idea to go and steal the tutorials and then drift from them. Is always a good idea.
They're like, keep it within this range, and I was like, no, I'm gonna do what I want. Get some cool effects.
I just messed with, jitter stuff.
I am obsessed with lately I have this thing on my butt where I need to do glowing effects. With the thing we were looking at yesterday with my plug-in, with video, I just want to I feel like once I figure it out for one thing, I'll be able to use it for all things.
Yes.
And I think musically for like swelling, glowing is really effective to show that.
Yeah, well, I look forward to getting to that. Just as a sort of harbinger of things to come, I guess, although not so ominous, is that the way we're working right now is sort of not optimal, right? So we've been working on the central processing unit with these matrices because in many ways it's easier to understand and it's a good way to get into it. But pretty shortly we're going to have to move to doing our processing on the GPU, the graphics processing unit. And that requires a bit of indirection, but all these things we're learning will translate. So things like glowing and things of that nature are going to be possible when we move into the world of OpenGL and working on the graphics processor with shaders and stuff like that. So I think what you all will be used to seeing in graphics is typically now done using the graphics processing pipeline. But for now, we're going to stick with what we've got and then transition over pretty shortly, I think. What I have on the agenda today is to look more at matrix repositioning, and specifically using scissors and glue to be able to just divide a video into columns and rows and then piece it back together, which is not complicated really, but there's some caveats. And then looking at the JIT.repos, repose or reposition object, where we can take a movie and then reposition it based on a second matrix. So reposition the cells of one matrix based on a controlling matrix. So let's jump into it. Oh, and also I would like to, if I can make myself not forget, show you that we used JIT.record before, and the advantage of JIT.record is that it can record in non-real time. So if you're doing really complex processes that are not going to run smoothly in real time, JIT.record is a good answer for you. If you're working in the world of matrices as we're doing now, and you'd like to record something with audio, for instance, in real time, then JIT.VCR is the answer for that, which does not record in non-real time, but will record in real time. VCR is an old standard of tape that used to play videos that you would get from Blockbuster, the GameStop of old. Okay, so let me share the screen here.
I did have a question, sorry, before we jump into this new topic.
Yes.
I was looking at the feedback loop, like we did last class, and there was something I didn't quite understand, and it is that where is the delay happening? Because there were no delay objects.
Yeah, so the delay is happening per bang, basically. So the Q metro. So the distance between bangs of the Q metro is the amount of delay. So that's where it is. It is simply like, basically, you could think of it as a 1-frame delay.
Okay, so it's like banging one matrix and then the other matrix on the next bang, and that's fine.
Right. Yeah, so it's just based on that. So if your Q metro is 33, then somewhere around 33 milliseconds is the delay.
Okay.
And as I think it was Andrew maybe asked, how do I delay the matrix? And that's a bit more complicated. And we looked at the pipe object and it didn't really work for that. I'm not actually sure why, but it didn't. And so the answer to that question is generally to use jit.matrix set. So which like I said, is like pages in a book. So matrix set is the book, and all the matrices are pages, and you can collect some number of matrices, and then you calculate, well, it would be however many matrices you gather. So if you have 33 milliseconds distance between each bang and you stored 16 matrices, then you could have up to a delay of 16 times 33 milliseconds. Okay, so let me jump in again here. Let's do this. All right, we'll start brand new. All right, so here's a little challenge for us. And it says, let me make this so I think you can read that. It says, using jit.scissors and jit.glue, piece together the following. 2 videos will play, each with the ability to rotate. So again, using this jit.rota object, which I obviously really like. And the videos will be arranged like this. So imagine for a second that a normal video looks like this, right? It has, if we divide it into 3 rows and 3 columns, then it would look like that, right? So the top left of video 1, the top middle of video 1, the top right of video 1, etc., etc. So there's actually 9 different matrices representing the video divided into 9 equal squares. Or, yeah. What we could also do is we can make another video where all these are 2s, right? And that would be a different video. So what we're trying to do is taking the top center of a second video, the top middle of a second video, and the bottom middle of a second video, as well as the middle left and the middle right, and making the cross with 2 videos. So there will be 2 videos. Only one will show in each area. They won't overlap. And we're going to try to make this. So, you know, with the current tools we have, this would be a little bit difficult. So there's a specialized tool for this, which makes it easier. So Q Metro 33 will be our driving force. Now, what I discovered in doing this yesterday is there's a small caveat in that this did not work for some reason if I used the Chickens movie and another movie, because the Chickens movie was in an MP4 format and the other movies were in a movie format. And I'm not really sure why that would be, but it didn't work. So there are some situations where this seems to not function correctly if the videos aren't in the same format. Just word to the wise that cost me some time yesterday. All right, so let's take some ducks. And I'm going to create a message. Well, I'll create a movie object that just loads it. So you notice it uses the movie file attribute, so we can just load it directly. It's a large format book. All right, and geez. Secondly, we will use a this person here, and we'll do this. And we start hearing that annoying sound. So remember, you can put volume 0, and that'll make that stop. All right. Also, as I've said previously, it's usually a good idea to just go ahead and say unique 1. So somebody tell me what unique 1 does in this object.
I have forgotten.
Okay.
I've also forgotten.
All right. So obviously this movie was playing, right? Because we heard the sound going on. And if we ask it to output a matrix representing what it's playing, then it will do that. And in fact, it may output more than one matrix. It may output the same matrix many, many times. So let's say that the frame rate of these movies is 1 frame per second. And if I'm asking for it every 2 milliseconds, well, it's going to output that movie frame over and over and over again really fast. And sometimes I don't want that. I just want, because the movie doesn't have any more frames than it's got, and I just want every frame. So unique is a way of saying, if you get another bang and you're still on the same frame, then don't bother. I've already got that frame. Okay, that's what unique 1 means. It means a unique frames. Don't output the same frame twice. It's just an efficiency issue. All right, so I have these 2 movies, and we said we wanted to be able to rotate them. So, well, before I do that, let's just look at what the scissors do. So scissors has these attributes, columns, and we said we wanted 3 columns, and rows, and we said we wanted 3 rows, so 9 squares. And as we do that, we see that we have 9 outputs.
You have to put the attributes, or could you just put 3, 3? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. Let's find out. So, scissors, it has no arguments. So you can't put 3, 3 as far as I know.
I feel like I've run into JIT objects that say no arguments all the time, but then they just do.
Huh. Let's see. Let's look at the help
lies.
file. Little lies. Yeah, up here it even doesn't say that it has arguments. So I would seriously doubt it.
Maybe this one's not lying.
I think this one's telling the truth. All right, so let's just make sure we know what's going on. I'm going to shrink these down pretty small to 3, 4, and the last one is dump out for information about this object that we do not need right now. So, whoops, if we do this, we see that there's our ducks, and now it's split up into 9 equal parts. If I put these really close together, we could almost recreate the ducks, right? We could chop off his head. You get the idea. And ditto for this one, right? We could do it with this one here as well. All right, so we cut it up into little parts, and that's great. So we could also have done that using what you'll look at in tutorial number 14 this week, which is what I showed you last week. This is using source dimension destination, or source dimensions or destination dimensions. In other words, look at the matrix here or output only this part of the matrix. But this is a much more convenient way to do this. So lastly, to skip the rotation part of this, we would need to glue this back together. So jit.glue. Whoops. Rows 3. So there we go. And then we just got to do a little bit of Jedi mind trick to understand how we're doing this, right?
Mix and match.
So we say that we wanted video 1 in the top left corner. And unfortunately, there's no way to make these, inlets line up like they should be. But it says matrix in, matrix 2, matrix 3, so there's no indication. But what happens is we do column 1, column 1, column 2, column 3 on row 1. Column 1, column 2, column 3 on row 2. Column 1, column 2, column 3 on row 3. So here we could say, all right, 1 to 1. And then we say 2 goes in the middle here. And then 1 here. And we go to the second row. And we say we want all of these to be 2. So we take the second row here. And we do this. And now we have 1, 2, 1. So on the last one here, this is 1, 2, and 1. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it would have been to use these sends and maybe say like left top 1, right? And then organize what you're doing so it's not so difficult. And we'll see if I got it right. Who knows? JIT.p window. And let's see if this does what it's supposed to do. So it looks like I'm not seeing this second one, which is actually a problem I had before. So let's look at the sync inlet. So this says which one do we sync to? I don't think it should matter. Let me debug a little bit here. That wasn't expected, just so you know. It wasn't part of my plan. Yeah, there he is. So we can say which inlet here makes it output. And if I do, yeah, we can see that it's there. And sometimes I have this problem where it's there, but we're not actually seeing it. So it's odd. So right now it's confused because I believe that these videos are not the same format. So this is a very finicky thing. Let's try a different movie file and see if it'll work. And I'll just use the help file here. Nope, this help file here to determine which one that should be. So they use rain and dishes. I will switch this to dishes. And let's move the sync inlet back to 0. Feels good.
Maybe it's the ducks.
Maybe. So let's try rain here. And there it works. So
Maybe it really was ducks.
I think it really was ducks. Let's put O back here.
Oh.
And how would we diagnose this and how would we fix it? I guess is an interesting thing to talk about since here we are. And one thing to do is to maybe look at the attributes, and let's look at the dimensions of this, which is 320 by 240, and the dimensions of this, which is also 320 by 240. And let's put the ducts back in, DVD ducts. So DVD implies this is probably 720 by 480 or something like that. Is that how it was?
It's just DV ducks.
DV ducts, digital video ducts, okay. 640 by 480. So maybe there's our issue, right? Is that these two dimensions don't line up. So I would say that if you're going to use this technique, you have to make sure that you're using movies of the same dimension. Maybe it's possible. Let's see if it'll work. I don't know if it will, just fair warning. Well, let me ask you, how might you fix this problem? They are not the same dimension.
Jet.matrix.
Maybe we could do jet.matrix. So let's try to see if we can change this one. A 4-plane character matrix with dimensions of 320 by 240. And there we go. Good job, Jarrett.
Gang, gang.
All right, so those are the sort of problems you might run into and why this matrix object is really fundamental, because we were able to quickly fix that problem just by noticing that maybe it's a dimensional problem. Okay, so according to this little challenge, I didn't do this quite right yet. What I'm supposed to do is rotate both of these things, or have the ability to rotate them. So let's again review the jit.rota object. So the jit.rota object has the ability to rotate. It has the ability to offset. It has the ability to zoom. And it says, I guess, that the movie should retain their spatial integrity, but the video too will occupy the space as intended above. So it just says to maybe rotate these. All right, so let's rotate them. So each of these will spin in their place. How do I rotate each of these different matrices that represent each of these parts of the video?
You have to do attributes into the rota. You could modulate those over time if you need to rotate.
How do I rotate them? Do I need to look? Let's see. So I'll look here, and the attributes there.
Right.
You have to set the anchor to the center, and then you have to use theta.
Very
to
good.
rotate.
All right. So let's say anchor x to 160, because we know this is a 320 by 240 video now. And in the same message here, by using a comma, we actually create a separate message. So anchor y to 120. And we'll just set both of our rotas this way. There we go. And then, as Andrew said, we have this theta argument, or theta message. And I'll use an argument, which is the $1. And we'll just rotate these all the same way. So what do I pass into theta? Is it degrees? Do I rotate 360 degrees, or how do I do this?
Yeah, it's in
It's right.
radians, and so you use pi or 2 pi. Or...
All right, so let's say that I want to, let's say I want to use degrees, because it makes more sense to me. And I'll say 0 to 360. So the input, I'm going to give it as 0 to 360, and we would like to output 0 to 2 pi, which is approximately 6.18.
6.28.
Sorry, 28, thank you. Is there another way I can get this value, 6.28? What can I get a more exact value of pi?
Gen.
So a little trick is that the gen object, which we have not covered, if I double click in here and I don't bother with any of this, I don't know if I have to bother with that.
You can delete the inputs.
And I just say 2 pi. Then that will give me 2 pi. And let's just make sure that's true. There it is, 2 pi. A handy little thing. So gen kind of has its own little language in it, and so it has a different set of objects. And since Max does not have a notion of pi or 2 pi, we can do it this way. Other ways to do it involve trigonometry, and you could figure it out if you wanted to using arctangent, so forth. I'll let you explore that if you're interested. So here is the output value. The high output value will be this, and we'll just bang it through one time. And now I could somehow automate this. So let's say that we're just going to count to 360. Okay. And we'll use this metro here for fun.
There it goes.
And there they go. And we see we've got a little bit of blurring happening, or what happens when the video goes to black, right? Yep. So how do I change what happens when the video rotates and there's nothing left? Right now it's just kind of smearing.
There are different modes.
Mm-hmm. So bound mode.
Bound mode.
$1. So we'll be able to change them here. Whoops, that's not the right one. Be able to change them. This is really hard to be blind. All right, and there's different ways we could do it, but let's just use an integer box. We could use radio buttons or U menu or whatever we want, but here we'll just make it easier on ourselves. And we'll look at the different modes. So it looks 1 would look more like this. Or 2. 3. Stretch the pixels out. Or 4, the kaleidoscope. Which actually doesn't. No, I think it only works if I zoom. All right, so there's that. I think originally what this was supposed to do was, okay, so yeah, it does say here, just the videos have the ability to rotate. So I could have rotated each individual matrix off of the jit.scissors, for instance, but this is fine. Okay.
There'd be so many of
there would be a
the
lot.
rotas.
It'd be a lot. But if that's what you wanted, that's what you could do. All right, so let's take all this stuff here. And encapsulate it. Okay, so that was that, a little brief introduction to jit.scissors and jit.glue. So let's look at the second challenge here. And it would be great if you could do it on your own, but understand the limitations of trying to do this and look at a Zoom video at the same time. So challenge 2 is to arrange one movie in 6 different rotations onto a single screen. Okay, so it's saying chop up a movie into 6 parts and rotate them onto a single screen. I want to modify this challenge, and I want to say what I would like to have is 4 rows of movies of the same movie, and I would like it so that each row moved, like scrolled from left to right at a different rate. So the movie will start together, and then, like Steve Reich's music, will shift out of phase with each other. All 4 rows will shift out of phase, and eventually coming back together depending on how quickly we're moving the rows. So let's figure that out. And you guys tell me what I need to do.
Would that be rota offset?
That's correct. So we need a movie. Let's use the ducks. And we're going to do some sort of rota with an offset. But first I need to divide this into 4 rows of a movie. How do I do that?
Jit.scissors.
Jit.scissors. Yes, indeed.
And do 4 by whatever number of columns you want.
Just 1, right? So I just want 4 rows. So 1 column and 4 rows. And just so we totally understand what's happening, let's just make sure to
put the 4.
Let's just make sure we know what we're looking at. So here's a jit.p window, and we'll look at all 4 rows. This is what we want it to look like. So there's this one, this one, this one, and
The ducks.
this one. There they are. Look at those chickens. And yeah, so the idea, right, is that I'd like for each of these to move from left to right at a different rate. So as Andrew said, we need a rota, and we're going to need a rota for each one of these, right, if we want to rotate them at different rates. So 1 rota, 2 rota, red rota, blue rota. All right, so now we've got the 4 things there, and we can again, I guess I should have kept my P windows. But we'll first do it like this so we can just make it look right. I'll make these really small.
Well, you need a counter, and then it could loop.
Yes.
Or you could do the pendulum mode or whatever, so it goes back and forth.
Oh, that would be interesting. But I think I just want them to kind of scroll, and then as it goes off the right, I want it to show up on the left. So we're going to have to set things appropriately for that. So here's our movie again. Squishy ducks. All right, so we haven't rotated anything yet, but let's make this part work. So as Andrew said, we can offset on the x-axis by some amount for each of these. So we'll just do them here. So these are the 4 rows. This one, this one, this one, and this one. Now the interesting question is, how do I offset them so that they go all the way from the left to the right? What value should I use for this $1? So we know we want it to kind of move like a counter moves. So go from 0 to some number. What number should it be?
Probably the pixel length.
That's correct. So we have to look at the dimensions of the movie. I pointed to it with my hand. Which is here on the x-axis, right, is 640. So we'll have to move 1 by 1 all the way across. So let's count up to 640. We'll do it like this.
Gonna encapsulate all the offsets and get them out of the way.
Something like that. All right, so we're going to go to this one, and to this one, and to this one, and to this one, right? And how do I make it so that these counters are driven at a different rate, each of them?
Different metros for each.
That's right. So we could either do different metros for each, or we could take this metro and divide it in a way, but we don't need to do that. So let's say that we want them to move. This one will go this fast for now, and then this one will go this fast, and this one will go this fast, and then this one will go this fast. Percussionists of the world rejoice. They like that. Okay, and let me hook all these up.
Good thing I only know how to count to 4.
Yes, that's all you really need. All right, and what do I want to do with these Q metros? I want them to go to the counter, right?
Yep.
Which is going to go to the offset X, which is going to move each of these different rotas at a different speed, theoretically. I think this is going to be way too fast, is my opinion right now.
Zoom.
So
I don't know if you'll be able to discern between 2, 3, 5, and 7. Those are they're all pretty fast.
Let's do 20, well, let's
Gotta
do
go fast.
20, 30. I think we would be able to discern because the video is going to tear apart, but it may be just such a blur. Okay, so we'll increase that. And let's see if we get any magic here. Oh, there they go. And so we see the reflection of the ducks start separating from the ducks. But we're not getting the result we want, right? Here comes the garbage.
Yeah,
So
and
somehow
bound mode 1 or 2.
So let's see if changing the bound mode will help us. Yeah, that looks more correct, right? As opposed to
Ducks.
1, which would cut those off. Kind of like sliders, weird sliders for your video
Little
sliders.
ducks.
Yeah, so this accomplishes the task. Maybe this would have been right if I did these a little faster. So that one's really fast now. There we go.
Is there a way to
ducks.
blur those lines in between? Like crossfade that somehow?
I don't know. Probably not. I think you'd have to do that kind of offline. You'd have to say, well, I'm going to take the edges of these videos and somehow blend them.
You could X-fade between 2 of them.
That's true. I'll leave that as a challenge for the ambitious.
You'd be X-fading with itself, though.
Yeah, I think I would do that in
And
an
they're
editing program.
because they're not currently overlapping. So what are you crossfading?
Yeah, there's a way
You'd
you
have
could
to
do
like
it.
shift it over and then crossfade it.
You have to
Tucking the
delay.
reverb.
You'd have to process the videos before you did this process, right? The videos themselves would have to be changed so the left and right sides are blurred, basically. Or yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I guess you could go and I don't know. It'd be pretty complicated now that I think about it. I don't think I want to try to conquer that. But you could do it. It's possible, obviously, that these pixels are located in a certain place, and we could go and find those pixels using jit.gen, for instance, and then blur just between those particular places. It's going to be challenging for sure. Okay, well, we haven't quite accomplished the task yet because this is not a single video. So how do I make this so that it's a single video?
Glue.
Yes.
Glue.
So we got to glue it together. And we want to take one column and 4 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and a single P window here. And now we have
Nice.
our singular window. And if we wanted to, we could record this somehow. Right, and one way we could do that is with jit.vcr. And jit.vcr, the first 2 inlets are actually for audio. And the third inlet is for our video. So let's, for fun, bring in some audio here. We will bring in...
Is that just the equivalent of the red, white, yellow, like inputs?
Yeah, you're right. That's correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Brings back memories.
Should have color coded it.
I didn't think about that actually. Okay, so let's choose Cherokee, and we'll just leave it like
Okay.
this. And we'll take the outputs and plug them into the VCR. And we'll take this and plug it into the VCR. And we can actually look at the output of the VCR. And there it is. And the trick with the VCR is that it's not going to be able to work unless we have the audio on. So if I turn the audio off, it's going to be unhappy when I tell it to write. So very much like the jit.record, you just have to tell this to write. You can choose things like what format you would like to be in. So engine, FPS, the codec. Encode, decode, and we'll choose H.264. We send a message like write, and it'll take all the attributes that are there now. So this is 30 frames per second. It's going to write it in real time, and I'll go ahead and make my stop message as well. So we choose write, and it'll ask us what do we want to save this as. Duck shear, And as soon as I hit save, right, it's writing now, and so I can do this, which is making some sound that I didn't choose to hear. And then we can stop and then be pleased that our video hopefully wrote the way it's supposed to. Duck shear. And let me make sure that I'm sure I didn't, I'll share the sound. I don't. Wow. Let's watch that again in full screen. Art museum, here we come. All right. So that is that. So now we've looked at jit.scissors, jit.glue, and jit.vcr. So scissors and glue, very intuitive, right? But it doesn't really allow us to reposition things or to cut up the movie in any sort of way that's non-symmetrical, really. So we're pretty block-based right here. So what I wanted to do is, let me pack all this up. I'm sure you guys have felt this way where it's like, please don't let me slip with my mouse to do this all over again. Yes. All right, so now we'll encapsulate all of that. And
happens when clicking the patch cables all the time.
Second challenge. Well, you know you can option click over patch cables.
Right, but sometimes they're like in between things and you don't want to click certain things. You're like,
yeah, gotcha. Okay, so now what I wanted to show you is a sort of more fine grain method of repositioning things. And it's a little more complicated. So the jit.repos is in reposition. So reposition spatially, right? So we take some input here. So let's say our DV ducts. And then over here we have a second matrix by which we will reposition these cells. It's tricky. So let's look at, so jit.expr, as you will recall, can evaluate an expression and will allow us to create, for instance, a normalized matrix whereby we go from 0 to, let's say, 255 on one axis and 0 to 255 on a separate axis. And what we have to do is we have to pass this a matrix so it knows what to do. Let's just say I want to have a one plane. We'll use a character matrix. And we'll say that this is going to be 640 by 480. And what I can do here, let's put a bang up here. This will do absolutely nothing in the beginning because I haven't told it what expression to use.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you have, so you didn't name the matrix. If you have multiple unnamed matrices, are they all the same? Or does it create like an invisible, unique identifier?
Yeah, so here's the name here.
Oh.
Some might be named UB40. This one's named U324005939. Welcome.
Gotcha.
If I make another one, it will not be named that. Okay, yeah, so it does make its own name somehow. And if I bang through this matrix, I don't see anything, right? So we can make an expression here in order to fill this matrix in a normalized way. And it's not a real easy trick to do, but believe it or not, that should do it. And so this would give us, I'm not totally convinced that worked the way I wanted it to. Let me try that again. I might have to look this up. I always do. So let me look it up here. So norm. Ugh.
Do you need just the norm 0?
Frustrating that they don't have the simplest thing. But I wanted to have both of those, right? That's my goal.
Could you send 2 expressions?
Well,
you can't do them at the same time.
Right. So maybe I have to put them in quotes. No. Well, we'll work with this. That's unfortunate. I'll have to figure that out. Maybe I already have. Hold on. Let's see here. Oh, and I'm reminded I was going to show that, but I'm going to wait on that.
1 dash norm 0.
Well, I did 1 minus there. So this was supposed to work for me. Well, let's just see what happens. So now we have this normalized matrix coming out of here. And I'm going to put it here. And look at the ducks now that they're going through this repositioning matrix. And I should change this to a 4-plane matrix, I guess. Yeah, and as expected, I don't have the proper...
Skinny ducks.
They're very skinny. All right, well, let me just... That's so weird. That's pretty odd. I swear that's what I just did. Oh, okay. So let me try this again. There we go. And let's make sure that... Yeah, so we need this to be a 4-plane matrix, it appears. And there we go. Okay, so now I've normalized on all 4 planes all of these cell things. So what's happening, right, is that I've lost some of my ducks. That is also odd. Anyway, what I could do is I could change some of these things, right? And perhaps be able to change the way this is repositioned. So really what we should do is we should break this down into a matrix that we make that's maybe 4 by 4 and just fill it with a cross and then try to move things in this repositioning way. But in the interest of being creative, let's just explore. So something that might be interesting to do is to say, okay, well, if I can fill a matrix like this and reposition what's going on, then maybe I'm able to do something more interesting if I start grabbing from different places. So let's look at the functions available here, which someone has figured out how to make these sort of wonderful patterns, right? And I particularly like the one we started with, so let's go back to that. And I'm just going to grab from the help file, which is, you know, typical sort of stuff to do. And let's see what happens if we choose to use this expression. And then we get this sort of repositioning of the movie based on this image, right? Which gives us a sort of interesting look. That's a lot of fun. And obviously this could be some sort of moving expression if we chose to evaluate over and over again. Or we could use a different movie to do this. So without being totally clear about, you know, how we would derive this particular expression, which is 1 minus Voronoi noise, normalized on the 0th axis times 2 with a weighting of 0.5 or weighting of 5. We don't know what that means. We could play around with some of those things and just see what happens, right? Whoops. So that changes things. And maybe we could do something like, well, let's just change this dynamically. You get the idea. So this sort of exploration. But this JIT.repositioning object is quite powerful. We could use stuff that is not an expression. Maybe we could use JIT.noise. I think this will work. So to give you an idea of what that looks like by itself, right, this is noisy. And if we use that as our repositioning matrix, obviously there will be a lot of noise going on. Right, so now the ducks have been repositioned in a noisy way. So we can go from very, very determined with normalization to totally noise-based with the noise thing, or we can use the JIT.exper, or you might even try trying to make the basis function generator work. And the best way to do that, again, is to look at the help file. And let's see what this is. The basis could be quintic, so that kind of looks interesting. And we could convert this into a 4-plane matrix somehow, either by packing 4 different basis generators or whatnot. Something like this, or here's the Voronoi again, and using that for our purposes. Oh, okay. So with that, that's what I have for you today. Basically, cellular repositioning in different ways. One way is a little bit more coarse with the scissors and glue. One way is a little bit more powerful with the JIT.reposition. And if you're really interested in exploring this, then looking at the JIT.gen object and inside here for a very thorough method of being able to reposition cells is a good idea, although a little bit beyond the scope for today.
I have a question.
Yes.
Could you do the first 2 challenges using JIT.reposition?
I believe you could. But I don't think that's the best way to do it. Because it's going to take all of the... I suppose you could try to see what happens if this matrix isn't the same dimension, because we're really just trying to get part of it, right? And cut it out. So really the best way to do that, if you're going to do an alternate method, would be the JIT.matrix object itself. And just say, I'm only looking at this part of the matrix, right? So, so 4-plane character, let's just say it's a row. So 640 long by 120, right? And then we would have to say, okay, well, but only look at the source dimension start of 0 and the source maybe this is a 2-dimensional, yeah, 0, 0, and the end, right? Does that make sense? So yeah. Only look at this part of the movie, but it's really hard to do that. You'll see that in tutorial 14, how they go about doing that, which has some interesting results that you wouldn't be able to get from scissors and glue. But for that particular exercise, scissors and glue is really makes the most sense. It's very easy. Something easy that's actually a kind of a complicated problem. All right, so let's make this go away. And let's take a look at what is on the plate for you. Oh my gosh. I'll just log in again. We're in week 4. And I want you to do these tutorials. So scissors and glue. I mean, we just did this in class, so it shouldn't be news to you, but you might find some little gems in there. The matrix repositioning, I highly recommend. Like I said, I don't often use the techniques that they show there, but they show pretty cool ones in that tutorial that might be useful to you in a creative sense. And then the image rotation, you already know this. This is jit.rota. But I would like you to check out the way they do the mouse interaction. And maybe it inspires you to brush up on your trigonometry to figure out how would I learn how to do that. But again, outside the scope of this course to be really a trigonometry course. So I won't ask you to know about arctangent and things like that. But it's good to know. And then I'd like you to create. So the assignment, and this is a non-optional assignment this time, and I'll make a Dropbox for it, is to use the repositioning tools we examined in class and create a short etude and record the video. It would also be really cool if you set some audio to it. So that's not required, but since we know the jit.vcr object and things are generally better with sound, you can start to explore that. And if you feel the urge, you could start exploring how to make audio reactive things. So control parameters based on analysis of simply the amplitude of the incoming sound, or even a more complex analysis of the sound using, for instance, the ZSA descriptors, which you can get in the package manager. Okay, but what's required is just a short etude using these repositioning tools. Try to find something interesting in there, and I will create a Dropbox for that. Okay, so in other news, we have the Channel Noise concerts coming up. And the way we're going to do those concerts is we're going to simply make recordings on the 2 days we have available. And we will not try to attempt to do it all in one go in a single concert setting. That way we have plenty of time to get great documentation of work that people have done, and not be in a rush to do it, and not have an audience that has to watch us position cameras and do all that sort of thing. So we will not invite 10 people to come, which is the maximum that's supposed to be in the recital hall. Doesn't seem worth it to me. So we will make a series of videos, and then I don't know if I want to premiere them. That's what other people have been doing with concerts. To me, that's, I don't know if that's useful. If you guys think it's useful, I'm happy to do a premiere. Otherwise, I'll just put the YouTube videos up and tell people they're there and they can watch them. I'm a little bit opposed to making one long video because I don't think people actually watch that on YouTube. They would prefer to be able to pick from a playlist a 5 or 6 minute thing that they can digest 30 seconds of and then click somewhere else. Yes, Jarrett?
Is it possible that we could, is there like a Channel Noise YouTube channel?
Well, we could make one. I had planned to put it on the music department website, just on a Channel Noise playlist.
Oh, okay. I just thought that if we posted them, it'd be cool to post them from, you know, a central, like, more official location rather
Yeah,
than...
I planned for the music department to do that. So we'll put them on the music department page. That's where all the guest lectures live for our music technology guest lecture series, and we'll make a Channel Noise 2021 playlist.
I'll definitely need help with recording it while I'm performing, but when it comes down to it, though, I want to edit my own stuff just because that's really fun for me. But then it's not that fun in that I probably won't edit anyone else's, which I think Jarrett wasn't planning on having me. I don't think Fran did either, but if anyone else did. And then with whatever free available cameras there are, I'll probably put some extra ones closer up on me, and I just want to make sure that's okay with everyone.
Right. So if you are not involved in presenting a piece, we could definitely use your help. Just in general, really. I know Alex has an installation he's doing, and I'm sure he could need some help. And we'll need to participate in that installation one at a time so he can get good documentation. And just in general, being able to record this. If it's something that can be presented in such a way where, like we normally record concerts with our 3 cameras, a switcher, a director of that process, and audio being recorded, we can do it in OBS in real time and not have to worry about editing after the fact. But like Ryan said, he wants to edit after the fact. He doesn't want to rely on maybe the limits of the switcher or the whims of real time. So we'll record on every camera and have it available for post. We'll record a DAW session if it has multi-channel audio. We'll record the DAW session for remixing in post if that's what we want to do. And if that's what everybody wants to do, I won't even bother trying to make an OBS real-time stream of it. Not a stream, a real-time recording of it. But I'm open to what anybody wants to do with their piece. What my goal is for you to have great documentation of what you've worked on if you're working on something, performance or composition or installation or whatever you're doing.
How do we plan on capturing like video for audio-visual pieces?
We have a switcher. So if we can get out to HDMI, then we have 2 switchers and we can capture that way to OBS on a computer.
Yeah, so I mean, so the switcher, there's like definitely, I know for a fact if you're doing something in the recital hall, and even if you're not, like there's like a dedicated HDMI port, I think, even in the recital hall. So if you have something that you just want to plug in and get that live like render, or I'm not sure what you have, if it's some sort of like pre-made rendered footage or like jitter stuff or whatever, that could definitely just be plugged in and it can be switched in and out. Like, and if you want, I can show you how that would work.
Or we have the Blackmagic Video Assist, which takes an HDMI input and can record on an SD card. We have 2 switchers, one that lives permanently in the recital hall and then a separate one. So the only issue, well, I don't know, I don't recall if we can record. I don't think we can record all the streams at once. I can't remember with the switcher.
Actually, I don't know. I don't know about that.
I know we can't in the way we have it now.
Can't in the way that we have it now, but I know there's definitely like an option to do so through probably through the Blackmagic software itself rather than OBS.
Right.
Because OBS just takes whatever it's seeing at face value, but the Blackmagic hard drive that you've got there would probably hold on to everything.
Right. So if we had a switcher that we just didn't use the output, which is a USB-C output for a webcam, we can actually just record straight to a disk.
Yeah.
And I believe it'll record in a format that the DaVinci Resolve software, you'll just have your multi-camera there. But I'm not completely 100% positive about that.
Yeah, we could probably do some tests and figure that out for sure.
So we'll be employing a lot of our audio and visual recording techniques to do this, which is always fun. And I don't know if we need. Is anybody doing a piece that will require multiple channels in the hall? I don't know if Ryan is or not.
I'm not, but are we bringing at least 2 Genelecs down though, or no?
I think that'd be cool. Yeah, but if we don't have to bring 8, then that's good too.
Yeah.
I know Alex is going to be using multiple small Dynaudios. So yeah, let me know if you need more. Hey Alex, let me know if you need more than 2 Genelecs in the hall. In a sense, yeah, let me know if you need more than 2.
Well, so how is Alex going to send all of those? Are you using a RedNet or an X30? Because we're probably going to use the X32.
That's right.
So
There's ways we could do it. We could We can figure it out. We also have a Yamaha LS9 that has a Dante
Okay.
interface. Although sometimes I use that. We'll figure it out. We have multiple RedNet 1s, right? So all Alex needs to do is send out from a computer.
And so, but he needs a computer with Dante then.
That's correct.
Okay, Alex, what are you running it on?
I'm running on a Max 8.
Okay, so we need to put Max 8 on one of the computers with Dante, right?
Right, or either that or purchase a Dante license
Yeah.
for the day or in general.
Trial for Dante?
Costs
Yes.
like $10 a month.
I think you
Oh.
can get it for forever for like $50, like via, can't you?
I think it's cheaper than $50, but it may be $50. It used to be $29.95, but they might have a free trial as well. I've done that before, but I've used up all my free trials. So
Yeah. And so, Alex, like there's a limited number, but we do have computers that have Dante, but we just have to do that then and make sure it works. And
All right, so what do you need from me?
well, you need to decide if you want to get a Dante thing or if you want to set up a computer that we have here with Dante, which would be one of those laptops.
here's
Well,
what I
would you
think. Here's what I think. I think that Alex is only really, or you're only sending out 2 channels of audio, right? And it's just going to multiple speakers.
Exactly.
So
Oh, okay. Then
we can
it's-
use almost anything.
Yeah.
Because it's not really it's not a panning issue. It's
It's
just
not
it's
using-
I'm just sending out audio.
3 channels, right?
Yeah, we could even use like our big Allen and Heath board, right? He can go into 2 channels and there's like 12 auxiliary outs.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally we wouldn't do something big. We'll have to just figure out, but it has to be something with multiple outs for those speakers. Because I believe you wanted 8 in a ring. Is that right, Alex?
There's 9 in a ring.
9 in a ring. What's the 9th one for?
It's just 9. It's 9 different audio. It's I just have
Oh, I
9
see. So are you going to put a different one out each speaker?
That's what I'm aiming for.
Okay, so then you would need more outputs.
And if it's 9, we can't do it one of the Dante or the RedNet 1s because those are 8 channel outputs.
Yeah, we'd have to use 2 RedNet ones.
Yeah.
Should I try simpler or should I try to?
No, I mean this is totally doable, but just know that you got to do those steps as well. You got to figure out how you're gonna send it
Yeah.
to the board, but it's very doable. We have
So-
all the technology.
Yeah, we have lots of stuff. But it'll be So sometimes, just as
Well,
a word to the wise, like oftentimes when like if you were going to present your installation or a piece at a conference, then they would want to have a tech writer for this. Like, how am I supposed to? What do you need? And you have to be able to specify it. So I can work on that with you. But it's a good thing to have to go along with your work so that if you never ever needed to present it somewhere else, you would know what to tell somebody that you need. And they would be able to do it for you.
Do you want to try to do that earlier, or do you want to just set up like a same time lesson time? Because I feel like we're gonna run into a problem if we get. I don't know. Wait.
Well, I think that what we have here is that we have an overabundance of things that will do what we're talking about. And so we
Okay.
don't have to worry about having to secure something like that. But so in that sense, it's not a rush, but I would like you to have that document, for instance, so that it's easy to say, hey, I want to put this in the art museum or wherever, and you'd be able to say, and this is what I need to be able to do it.
Okay.
All right, everybody, I'll put this recording up on the Folio site and send you an email, and I will clean up the patches that we did today so you can look at them, although I think that they're pretty much covered in the tutorials, but sometimes it's nice to be able to review it. And remember that you have a creative little etude that you should take care of, and study those 3 tutorials and other tutorials if you need to get caught up. And as always, email me if you're falling behind or have questions, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.